One engine defect ended in a settlement valued at $1.3 billion. Another one forced Toyota, the most trusted name in the business, to recall over 270,000 trucks and SUVs across 3 separate recalls. And a third one has a twist buried in the government paperwork that almost nobody talks about, and it changes how you should read every scary engine headline you've ever seen. Today, I'm giving you the 5 engines that mechanics keep telling people to walk away from. Engines with real recalls, real lawsuits, and real seizure stories before 150,000 miles. And then the 3 engines with the strongest documented record of just refusing to die. Quick promise before we start, because this channel doesn't do hate lists. Every single engine on the avoid list gets an honest, when it's actually fine box. The exact years, the exact fixes, and the free coverage some of these cars come with that most owners don't even know exists. Because here's the thing, one of these problem engines comes with a free lifetime-style warranty that sellers conveniently forget to mention. That alone can turn a car you'd run from into the best deal on the lot. 3 things I'm planting right now. 1. An engine on my avoid list wears the exact same badge as an engine on my buy list. Same displacement, same brand, completely different fate. And the reason why is the single most useful thing you'll learn today. 2. The most trusted brand in America is on the naughty list, and I'll show you the recall numbers to prove it. 3. Before we're done, I'll give you the exact sentences to say to a seller or a shop that can save you an $8,000 mistake. Stick around for all 3. First, 40 seconds of ground rules, because this is where most engine videos lie to you. When I say documented fact, I mean there's a recall campaign number, a court case, or a manufacturer program you can look up tonight. When I say owner's report or owner's allege, that means complaints and lawsuits, real smoke, but not a court ruling. And when I give you my read on it, I'll tell you it's my read. One more rule, and it's the big one. Complaint counts are not failure rates. A headline can scream, 500,000 cars recalled, while the manufacturer's own paperwork estimates that only a small percentage actually have the defect. Both things are true at the same time. I'll show you a real example of that today with actual numbers, because once you see it, you can never be fooled by a scary thumbnail again, including mine. And why does any of this matter right now? Because the average car on American roads is 12.8 years old, the oldest fleet in history. The average new car transacted at about $49,758 this summer. Most of us are keeping what we have or buying used, which means the engine you pick is the whole ball game. A replacement engine typically runs somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000. That's an estimate, and it varies. But nobody budgets for it either way. Let's get into the list. No slow build. Engine number 1, right now. Number 1, the Hyundai and Kia Theta 2 GDI, the 2.4-liter and the 2.0-liter turbo. Roughly 2011 through 2019, Hyundai Sonata, Santa Fe Sport, Tucson, Kia Optima, Sorento, Sportage, millions of ordinary family cars. Here's the failure in plain English. During manufacturing, metal debris could be left inside the crankshaft's oil passages. Those passages feed oil to the connecting rod bearings, the little sleeves that let the rods spin on the crank thousands of times a minute. Restrict that oil, and the bearing wears, then knocks, then seizes. In the worst cases, a rod lets go and punches through the block, and now you have oil on a hot engine, which is how some of these ended in fires. Documented fact, this started with a recall back in September 2015, about 470,000 Sonatas from 2011 and 2012. It grew into a class action settlement with relief valued at up to $1.3 billion. A second settlement, approved in 2023, pulled in roughly 2.1 million additional vehicles with related engines, and there was a record federal civil penalty on top. That's not forum gossip, that's paper. Owners reported seizures anywhere from 60,000 to 140,000 miles, frequently with almost no warning beyond a faint knock. Out of pocket, an engine like this runs an estimated $4,000 to $8,000. Now the honesty box, and for this engine, it's a monster. Most Theta 2s never fail. The defect is a minority, even in the worst years. And here's the part that flips this from a car to run from into a potential bargain. The settlement created a 15-year, 150,000-mile extended warranty on those rod bearings, and it's tied to a free piece of software called KSDS, Knock Sensor Detection System. It listens for the early sound of a bearing dying and protects the engine so it can be caught before catastrophe. So the whole game with a used Theta 2 car is one question: has the KSDS update been installed, and is this VIN covered? If yes, you're driving one of the most heavily warrantied engines on the used market. If the seller can't answer that question, that's not a discount conversation. That's a walkaway conversation. Hold that thought, because I'm giving you the exact wording later. One legal note I'll repeat for every engine today. A settlement is not an admission that the engine is defective. The companies deny that. What you and I care about isn't blame. It's whether your VIN is protected. Engine number 2. Ford's 1.5, 1.6, and 2.0-liter EcoBoost 4 cylinders, roughly 2013 through 2019. That's the Escape, the Fusion, the Edge, and the Lincoln MKC and MKZ. Not every EcoBoost ever made. These specific small ones, these specific years. Remember that, because all EcoBoosts are junk is a myth we're killing later. The failure has a name that Ford owners know by heart: coolant intrusion. These blocks use an open-deck design. Picture the tops of the cylinders standing in an open moat of coolant instead of being fully braced by the block. Over time, sealing between the coolant jacket and the cylinders can fail, and coolant seeps into the combustion chamber. Now you're burning coolant. The level drops with no puddle on your driveway. The engine runs hot. Coolant washes the cylinder walls, contaminates the oil, and in documented worst cases, you get a cracked head, a dead engine, or a fire. Documented fact: Ford's own internal service message, SSM 48106, lays out the diagnosis for the 1.5, pressure test the cooling system, and if intrusion is confirmed, the fix is a short block, a new bottom end, and there's a consolidated federal class action, Miller versus Ford, covering these models. Estimated repair if you're paying $4,000 to $7,000. Honesty box. Plenty of these cars sail past 150, even 165,000 miles with zero drama. The defect is real. It is not universal. Your defense is stupidly simple. Watch the coolant level like a hawk. A reservoir that keeps dropping with no visible leak on these engines is guilty until proven innocent. And if you're buying one used, a cooling system pressure test is cheap insurance. It's literally Ford's own published procedure. One footnote while we're on Ford: you may have heard horror stories about the 1.0 EcoBoost wet belt, a timing belt that runs bathed in engine oil and can shed rubber into the oil pickup. That nightmare is mostly a European story. The U.S. barely got that engine, though regulators here have looked at related oil pump failures in the EcoSport. Different problem, different engine. Don't let it smear the whole badge, and don't let anyone use it to panic you out of a good Escape or into a bad one. Engine number 3, and this is the one with the twist I promised in the first minute: the Nissan and Infiniti Phi C-Turbo, the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder and the 2.0 4-cylinder variable compression engines. In the U.S., that's the 2021 through 2024 Rogue, 2019 and 20 Altima, Infiniti QX50 and QX55. The Rogue is Nissan's best seller, so there are a lot of these in driveways. The engineering here is genuinely wild. The engine physically changes its own compression ratio on the fly using a linkage of pivoting arms. More compression for efficiency, less underboost. The problem isn't the idea. Documented fact: the bearings, the main bearing plus the bearings inside those linkage arms, could be manufactured out of spec. Bad bearings shed metal into the oil, metal circulates everywhere, friction climbs, and the engine can knock and eventually seize. In June 2025, that became NHTSA, recalled 25V437, 443,899 vehicles. The remedy: dealers drop the oil pan and inspect for metal debris. Debris found? Free engine, clean pan, fresh oil, and you're monitored. Nissan also extended powertrain coverage on these to 10 years or 120,000 miles, and a later action added over 320,000 more Rogues. Now, the twist. Buried in Nissan's own filing to the government is this. They estimate only about 1.2% of those recalled vehicles actually have the bad bearings. Read that again. 444,000 recalled. Roughly 1 in 80 estimated to actually have the defect. That is the single most important lesson in this entire video. Recalled does not mean doomed. A recall population is the net. The defect is the fish. Every scary engine headline you have ever seen, including the ones in this video, lives inside that gap. The companies with huge recalls aren't necessarily building the worst engines. Sometimes they're casting the widest net. So when you see 500,000 cars recalled, your question isn't, are they all bad? Your question is, has this VIN been inspected? And what did the pan look like? Honesty box for the VC Turbo. If the recall inspection is done and documented and the extended warranty applies, the math changes completely. The real long-term concern mechanics raise is complexity. More moving parts, fewer shops comfortable working on it, bigger bills when anything does go wrong out of coverage. My read. As a short to medium-term car with paperwork, defensible. As a 200,000-mile keeper, there are easier bets, 3 of them coming up later. Engine number 4. Take a breath, Toyota people. The V35A twin-turbo V6, the 3.5-liter in the 2022 through 2024 Tundra, the Lexus LX, and the 2024 GX. Yes, Toyota is on this list, and that's exactly why this video exists, because badge faith is not a maintenance plan. Documented facts, and there are 3 of them. Recall 1. May 2024, Campaign 2 4V 381, 102,092 Tundras and LX 600s, and the published remedy reads, quote, "Dealers will replace the engine assembly free of charge. Toyota committed to swapping entire engines." Recall 2. November 2025, roughly 127,000 more. Recall 3. May 2026, 43,566 more Tundras, with owner letters going out just this month. That's over 270,000 vehicles total, and Toyota has already replaced more than 70,000 engines. The cause, per Toyota, machining debris, tiny metal shavings left over from manufacturing the block, that can stick to the number 1 main bearing, the bearing at the very front of the crankshaft. Under load, that debris breaks down the oil film, the bearing gets metal on metal, and the engine can knock, lose power, or seize outright. Owners have reported it happening with no warning light, some while towing at highway speed. Now, careful distinction. This is where I separate documented fact from opinion on screen. Toyota's official explanation is debris. A well-known teardown mechanic who dissected a failed V35A publicly called that explanation into question and suspects the bearing design itself is load-sensitive. That is his professional opinion from one autopsy. It is not a finding, and Toyota has not acknowledged any design flaw. I'm not going to tell you Toyota hid anything because there's no evidence of that. What I'll tell you is what the paperwork says, and the paperwork says, check your VIN. Honesty box. The hybrid iForce Max version is not in these recalls. Engines built after the mid-2024 production fix and every replacement engine sit outside the affected population. And a truck with a documented brand new factory engine at 20,000 miles is arguably a better buy than one that was never inspected at all. This isn't Toyota fell off. This is one engine, one build window, one specific bearing. But if you're shopping a used 22 to 24 Tundra, and the seller can't show you recall status, you now know exactly what that silence might cost. Before Engine 5, and Engine 5 is the one with the twist I planted in the very first minute, notice what every engine so far has in common. The difference between disaster and a great deal was never the badge. It was paperwork, a software flag on a Hyundai, a pressure test on a Ford, an oil pan inspection on a Nissan, a recall letter on a Toyota. That's the whole reason we built the complete driver's defense kit. It's 82 pages, the used car inspection walkaround, the real maintenance intervals versus the upsell intervals, the OBD2 cheat sheet with the cheap cause listed first, and the exact say this to the shop scripts, printable for your glove box. $39. Link in the description, first line. One Dodged engine pays for it 200 times over. Okay, engine 5. Engine number 5. General Motors modern small block V8S with cylinder deactivation. The 5.3 and 6.2 liter with AFM or DFM, active and dynamic fuel management, roughly 2014 through 2024. Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Escalade, the best-selling vehicles in America. Which is exactly why this one hurts. Two separate problems, so let's be precise. Problem 1. The lifters. To save fuel, these engines shut down half their cylinders by collapsing special valve lifters. Those deactivation lifters can stick or collapse when they shouldn't. When one fails, you get a misfire and a tick that turns into a clatter, and a failed lifter can wipe out the camshaft with it. Owners most commonly reported around 120,000 miles, though it happens earlier. There's an active class action alleging the lifter design itself is defective. That's an allegation, not a ruling. And GM has quietly extended coverage for some owners through what's called a power component letter. A lifter and cam job runs an estimated $2,500 to $6,000. Problem 2, and this one's current, the 6.2-liter L87 bearing recall. Campaign 25V274, covering 597,571 trucks per GM's own filing, connecting rod and crankshaft defects that can kill the engine suddenly. GM's filing estimates about 3% of that population has the defect. There's your recall net lesson again. But here's the live wire. In January 2026, federal regulators opened a follow-up investigation, RQ 26001, into whether the recall fix itself is adequate, after dozens of owners reported failures after the repair. That investigation is open right now. I covered the full story in my L87 video, end screen at the close. And now, the payoff I promised in minute 1, the engine on my avoid list that wears the same badge as an engine on my buy list, is this one. The 5.3-liter Chevy small block. Because before AFM, the older Vortec 5.3 in the 2000s-era trucks, the LS-based one, is one of the most durable, most respected truck engines ever built. Mechanics who tell you to run from a 2016 5.3 will, in the same breath, tell you a 2005 with the same badge will do 300,000 miles pulling a trailer uphill. Same displacement, same family tree, opposite reputations, and the difference is essentially one system. The cylinder deactivation hardware and the thinner piston rings that came with the modern versions. That's the entire thesis of this video in one engine. Reliability doesn't live in the badge. It lives in specific parts, in specific years. Learn the years, and you can't be fooled. Honesty box. An enormous number of AFM trucks go 200,000 plus. Religious oil changes help. Many owners disable the cylinder deactivation entirely. That's a real mitigation. But know it can have warranty and, depending on how it's done, emissions implications. So go in with open eyes. All right, 5 villains down. Here are the 3 engines with the strongest documented case for going the distance. And because this is Shop-Proof Garage, each one gets its honest limits too. No engine is magic. Number 1, the Toyota 5.7-liter V8. The 3UR-FE, Tundra, Sequoia, Land Cruiser, Lexus LX 570, 2007 through 2021. This is the engine in the famous million-mile Tundra, a real truck, driven 1 million documented miles that Toyota bought back and tore down. Reports from that teardown describe an engine that was still astonishingly healthy inside. And it's not one lucky truck. In a study of over 174 million vehicles, the Sequoia ranked number 1 in America for longevity, with a 39.1% predicted chance of reaching 250,000 miles. The average vehicle? 4.8%. Why? It's the anti-modern engine. Big, lazy, naturally aspirated, port-injected so it doesn't carbon up, chain-driven, and tuned nowhere near its limits. Honest limits. It drinks fuel like it's free, water pumps and the buried starter are known jobs, and the cam towers can seep oil. It's a tank, not a saint. Number 2, the Honda 3.5 V6, the J35. Pilot, Odyssey, Ridgeline, Accord V6, Acura MDX, nearly 30 continuous years of the same proven architecture. Data puts the Pilot at roughly a 31% chance of clearing 200,000 miles. Honest limits, and they matter. The cylinder deactivation system, Honda calls it VCM, can cause oil consumption and gasket leaks on some years, so check the oil monthly, and belt-driven versions need their timing belt done around $100,000 because this is an interference engine. A snapped belt means bent valves, and one recent flag for total honesty. In late 2023, Honda recalled about 250,000 vehicles for a rod-bearing manufacturing issue on certain J35s, and regulators have an open review of some model years. Same rule as the villains. Verify the VIN. See how the rule never changes? Number 3. And this one you can still buy brand new. The Toyota 2.5-liter Dynamic Force 4-cylinder. The A25A. Camry. RAV4, 2018 onward. This is what it looks like when an engineer solves the modern engine problems on purpose. It runs both port and direct injection, so the port injectors continuously wash the intake valves, directly attacking the carbon buildup that plagues direct injection-only engines. Around 41% thermal efficiency, no turbo on the standard versions, bolted to a proven conventional automatic. Early units had a couple of specific fixable service bulletins, an EGR cooler issue, and some fuel pump seepage, not grounds for avoidance. It's too young for million-mile trophies, but every design decision points the right way, and reliability surveys already rated above average. Rapid fire. 6 myths, 6 kills, 30 seconds each. Screenshot mode, on. Myth. All CVTs die by 100,000 miles. Kill. The bad reputation belongs mostly to early Nissan family belt CVTs. Toyota's hybrid system marketed as a CVT doesn't even have a belt. It's a planetary gear set, and those routinely clear 300,000. Myth. Toyota and Honda can't build a bad engine. Kill. You just watched Toyota replace 70,000 engines. Badges don't fail or survive. Parts do. Myth. Every EcoBoost is a time bomb. Kill. The documented coolant intrusion class is specific small engines, specific years. A 3.5 EcoBoost F150 is a different animal entirely. Myth. The Chrysler Pentastar V6 is a lemon. Kill. The real cylinder head issue was 2011 to 2013, got an extended warranty, and was fixed with a redesigned head for 2014 onward. A later tick complaint exists, but the blanket lemon label is years out of date. Myth. A big settlement means the company admitted the engine is junk. Kill. Settlements explicitly deny liability every time. The paperwork protects you either way. That's what matters. Myth. 500,000 recalled means 500,000 dying. Kill. Nissan's own estimate, about 1.2%. GM's, about 3%. The recall is the net, not the fish. Clinic time. Real questions I see constantly. Honest answers. No padding. Should I buy a used Sonata or Optima at all? If the KSDS software is installed and the VIN carries the extended rod-bearing coverage, it's one of the most protected engines on the used market, and the fear discount works in your favor. No paperwork, no deal. My Silverado has a ticket idle. Get it diagnosed this week, not this quarter. A sticking lifter caught early is a repair. A collapsed lifter that ate the cam is an engine. The Rogue I'm looking at had the recall inspection. Clean pan, safe. That's genuinely reassuring, and you have the extended coverage behind it. My honest read, fine to own, but this isn't the platform I'd pick for a keep-it-forever car. Escape keeps needing coolant top-offs, no leak anywhere. On a 1.5, stop topping and start pressure testing. Burning coolant quietly is exactly how these fail. Every week you wait, you're gambling a short block. Is deleting AFM legal and smart? It's common. It addresses the known weak point, and depending on the method, it can raise warranty and emissions questions. I can't make that call for you. I can tell you thousands of owners have made it, and that you should know exactly which kind of device you're installing before you do. Odometer says 220,000 on a Sequoia. Used up? Statistically, that truck belongs to the most likely vehicle in America to see 250. Condition and records beat the number on the dash. Inspect it like anything else, but don't fear the mileage. The dealer denied my engine warranty claim. Am I done? Not necessarily. Save every oil change receipt, get the denial in writing, and check whether your VIN falls under a settlement program or an extended coverage letter. Several of the engines in this video have exactly that. A denial from a service advisor is an opening position, not a court ruling. Do short oil change intervals actually protect these engines, or is that cope? For the failure modes we covered today, bearings starving, lifters sticking, rings coking up, clean oil at honest intervals is the single cheapest mitigation that exists. It won't cure a manufacturing defect. It absolutely stacks the odds, and it builds the paper trail that wins warranty fights. One breath. Screenshot this, avoid list, or verify before you buy. Hyundai Kia Theta. 2, 11-19. Demand KSDS proof and warranty status. Ford 151620 EcoBoost 13-19. Pressure test the cooling system. Nissan VC Turbo 19-24. Recall inspection paperwork or walk. Toyota V35A, Tundra and Lexus 22-24. VIN check against 3 recalls. A replaced engine is a plus. Silence is a minus. GM 53 and 62 with cylinder deactivation 14-24. Listen for the tick, pull the service records, know the L87 recall status. Buy list: Toyota 57 V8 if you can feed it. Honda J35 with the belt done and the oil watched. Toyota 25 Dynamic Force if you want new car peace. And the magic sentences. Has every open recall on this VIN been completed? Show me. I want a cold start video before I drive out. I'm getting a pre-purchase inspection. It's $100 to $250 and it's non-negotiable. Any seller who flinches at those 3 sentences just answered your real question. Every one of those scripts, plus the full inspection walkaround and the wallet card version, is in the driver's defense kit. $39, first link below. It exists so you never walk onto a lot unarmed again. The badge on the tailgate is marketing. The parts inside the engine are the truth. You now know which parts, which years, and which questions. Which puts you ahead of 90% of the people signing paperwork this weekend. Now you know what they know. Drive smart out there. If you own one of those GM trucks, the full 6.2 recall investigation video is on your screen right now. That's the story that's still unfolding.